My name is Emery. I spent 10 years saving for this house, then my sister stole it. And her boss? He already owned me. I didn't grow up rich. We were the kind of family where Christmas gifts came from garage sales, and treat yourself meant buying a secondhand sweater instead of skipping a meal. But when Mom passed, quietly, in her sleep, 3 months after her diagnosis, I found her shoebox under the bed. Inside, every receipt from every overtime shift she worked at the hospital cafeteria, every dollar she saved, folded and labeled with my name. For Emery's home, she'd written in shaky script. That box became my mission. I moved out at 24, I took 2 jobs, I ate ramen for 6 months straight. I cried in the shower more times than I can count. And then, 2 years ago, I bought it. The little blue bungalow on Maple Ridge. The one with the crooked porch swing Mom always loved. I put her photo on the mantle. I planted her favorite roses by the fence. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Finally, then came Leela, my sister, 4 years younger. Always the golden child. The one who got scholarships, who never missed a dinner, who could cry on command and make anyone feel guilty. She worked at some corporate firm downtown. Something about strategic partnerships. I never really understood what she did. She'd text me sometimes. Em, you're so strong. I wish I had your grit. I believed her. I thought she admired me. Until last Tuesday, Mom and Dad sat me down at the kitchen table like I was a criminal. No coffee, no hugs, just silence, then Dad's voice. Sell the house to Lila, or we disown you. I laughed. Out loud. Like they'd told me to give them my kidney. What? Why? Lila didn't look at me. Her eyes were fixed on her phone. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Dad said, "It's time you stopped being selfish." Mom added, "We've supported you all these years. Now it's your turn to help your sister." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the plate of cold lasagna across the room. But I just whispered, "You don't even know how much I sacrificed for that house." Lila finally spoke. Soft. Too soft. "It's not about money. It's about family." I looked at her. Really looked. Her nails were perfect. Her blouse was designer. Her watch expensive. Not the kind you get as a junior admin. That night, I went home. To my house. I locked the door, sat on the floor, and opened my laptop. I dug into my email, found the one I'd ignored weeks ago. From Havenwood Title and Escrow. Subject, closing documents signed, property transfer complete. I clicked. My blood turned to ice. The deed had been transferred. 2 weeks ago, signed by power of attorney, authorized by Lila Whitmore. I froze. Power of attorney? When? I hadn't signed anything like that. I hadn't even known she had access to my documents. Then I remembered. 3 weeks ago, I was sick, feverish, head spinning. Lila came over, said she'd help me organize my files. She held my hand. Told me I was her only real family, that if anything happened to me, she'd take care of everything. She slid a single page in front of me. "Just sign here, Em. It's for medical access. So I can talk to your doctors if you pass out again." I was too dizzy to read it. I trusted her. I signed. I didn't know it was a general power of attorney. I didn't know it gave her full control over my property. I called Havenwood Title. A woman named Brenda answered. Her voice was gentle. "Ms. Whitmore, your sister completed the transfer. The buyer was listed as Vera Capital LLC. They paid cash. Full market value. $780,000. I asked, "Who owns Vera Capital?" She paused. Then quietly, "Marcus Vera. You might have seen him on Forbes. Billionaire. Real estate titan. His company buys properties like yours, then flips them or develops them. He doesn't buy homes. He buys leverage." I hung up. I drove back to my house. The lock had been changed. New keypad. New security system. My roses, gone, replaced with black shrubs. A for sale sign stood crookedly in the yard. Luxury investment opportunity. Pre-approved buyer. I pounded on the door. Lila opened it, wearing a tailored blazer. Lipstick, high heels. She smelled like expensive perfume, not the lavender soap she used to wear. "Em," she said, like nothing had happened. "I'm sorry you found out this way." "Sorry?" My voice cracked. "You sold my home, my mother's legacy, to a man I've never met. And you're apologizing like you spilled coffee?" She stepped aside. "Let me in," and then I saw him, on the wall, a framed photo. Marcus Vera, smiling, arm around Lila. Behind them, a skyline I recognized, my city's new tech district. The caption, "Celebrating our first acquisition together. Maple Ridge property secured." "Thank you, Lila," I stared. My hands shook. "You work for him," I whispered. "I'm head of acquisitions," she said. "He promoted me last month." "But why me?" She looked away. Took a breath. "Because he wanted this house. He's been watching it for a year. He knew you were the only one who cared enough to fight for it. So he made me choose. Choose what? Either I delivered the house, or he pulled funding from Dad's pension plan. He owns shares in the hospital. If he pulls out, Dad loses his retirement. Mom's medical bills? Gone. And you?" She turned to me, tears in her eyes. But not the kind that mean guilt, the kind that mean fear. "He told me if I didn't do this, he'd ruin us. All of us, even you. He has connections everywhere. Lawyers, judges, banks. He doesn't just own property. He owns people." I felt the floor tilt. I thought I was the victim of greed, but I wasn't. I was the pawn, and now I was the problem. I turned to leave. Before I reached the door, Leela called out, soft, broken, trembling. "He's coming tonight." I stopped. "What?" "Marcus, he wants to meet you. Face to face. He says, he wants to thank you." I turned slowly, she whispered. "He says you're the reason he's worth $500 million. I didn't answer. I just walked out. And as I stood on the sidewalk, staring at my house, my home, now someone else's trophy, I pulled out my phone and typed one message to my lawyer. "I need everything. Every document. Every signature. And I need you to find out who Marcus Vera really is. Because I didn't just lose my house tonight. I lost my whole world. And now I'm going to take it back." I didn't cry when they told me to sell my house. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just stared at my mother's photo on the mantle, the one I took the day I closed on the blue bungalow. And I whispered, "I'm sorry." They thought I'd break. Mom and Dad sat across from me like judges in a trial I never asked for. Lila was there too. Quiet, perfect, eyes down, fingers twisting her engagement ring. She wasn't even married, but she wore it anyway. "Like armor. Sell it to your sister," Dad said. "Or you're no longer part of this family." Mom added, "We've given you everything. Now it's time to give back." I didn't ask why. Not then. I didn't need to. Because I already knew. Lila had been acting strange for months. Always late, always exhausted. Never home. And last month, she showed up at my door with a new designer purse, one that cost more than my monthly rent. When I asked where she got it, she laughed and said, "Oh, perks." Perks. That word stuck with me. So after they left, I did what I always do when I'm scared. I dug. I checked my bank statements, my property records, my emails, and that's when I found it. A notification from Havenwood Title. Deed transfer request submitted. Emery Whitmore property. Date, 2 weeks ago. Status, approved. Signed by Lila Whitmore. Power of attorney. I froze. I hadn't signed anything. I didn't even know she could sign for me. Then I remembered. 3 weeks before that, I was sick, feverish, head pounding. I'd called in sick to both jobs. Lila came over with soup and tissues. Said she wanted to help me get my affairs in order in case I got worse. She held my hand, cried, told me how proud she was of me, how she wished she could be as strong as me. She slid a single page across the coffee table. "It's just for medical access, Em," she said. "So I can talk to your doctors if you pass out again." I trusted her. I signed. I didn't read it. I didn't have to. Or so I thought. I called the title company. The woman's voice was polite, professional, cold. "Ms. Whitmore, the transfer was completed under a general durable power of attorney. Your sister has full legal authority to sell, lease, or encumber the property. The buyer is listed as Vera Capital, LLC. Payment cleared in full. $7,000 or $80,000, I asked. "Who is Vera Capital?" She paused, then softly said, "You've probably seen their logo. Marcus Vera, billionaire, real estate kingpin. His company buys homes like yours, then turns them into luxury condos, or sells them to foreign investors who never set foot inside." I hung up. I drove to my house. The lock was changed. New keypad. New security camera. A for sale sign planted right where Mom's roses used to bloom. I knocked. Lila opened the door, wearing a silk robe. Hair perfectly styled, no makeup. No tears, just calm, like she'd been waiting for me. "Em," she said, "I didn't think you'd come. You sold my house. I had to." "To whom?" She stepped aside, let me in, and then I saw him, on the wall, a large framed photograph, Marcus Vera, smiling, arm around Lila, behind them. A skyline. My city. The new tech corridor. Caption: celebrating our first major acquisition. Maple Ridge secured. "Thank you, Lila." I turned slowly. "You work for him." "I'm head of acquisitions," she said. "Promoted 3 weeks ago?" I laughed. A dry, broken sound. "And you sold my home?" "To get that promotion?" She looked away. "He needed this property. It's the last piece of the puzzle. He's building a tech campus here. He told me if I didn't deliver it, he'd shut down Dad's pension fund. He owns 40% of the hospital. He controls every contract, every insurance payout. If he pulls out, Dad dies without medication. Mom's hospice care vanishes. And you?" She turned back to me, eyes glistening, not with guilt, with terror. "He said if you fought back, you'd vanish. No trace, no body. Just gone. Like the others." I felt the room spin. "The others?" She swallowed. 2 women last year. Both lost their homes. One disappeared. Police said she ran off. But her laptop, it had a draft email to her sister. "He's not a man. He's a machine. And he doesn't take houses. He takes people." I walked to the window. Looked. At my house, my mother's roses, my porch swing, my sanctuary, all gone, and then I noticed something. On the coffee table, an open laptop. Screen lit up. AA, spreadsheet, names, dates, addresses, every property Vera Capital had acquired in the past 5 years. And next to each one, a note. Family pressured, sibling. Signed POA, elderly parent threatened. Sister, manipulated. Brother, blackmailed. There were over 200 entries, and mine was number 197. I turned to Lila. "You didn't just sell my house," I whispered. "You helped him steal hundreds of them." She didn't answer, just looked at me, with the same hollow stare she used when we were kids, and she broke my favorite toy and said, "I didn't mean to. But this wasn't an accident. This was a business model, and I wasn't the victim. I was the proof." That night, I went home to my empty apartment. I sat on the floor, and I pulled out my phone. I opened my voice recorder, pressed record, and I said, loud and clear, "My name is Emery Whitmore. My sister, Lila Whitmore, used a forged power of attorney to sell my home to Marcus Vera, CEO of Vera Capital. He didn't buy it. He demanded it. And he threatened to destroy my family if she refused. He's done this before, to hundreds of people. I have evidence. And tomorrow, I'm going public." I hit stop. Then I sent the file to every news outlet I could find. To the FBI tip line. To the state attorney general. To my lawyer. And then I typed one final message to Lila, "You gave him my house. Now I'm giving him your soul." I didn't sleep. Didn't cry. I just waited. At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. One text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. "You're too late." I smiled, because I wasn't. I was just getting started. The next morning, the world exploded. The Narinam local news broke. Mysterious whistleblower exposes billionaire real estate empire built on coercion. By 8 a.m., national outlets picked it up. By noon, your Vera Exposed was trending worldwide. The video I recorded, it went viral, not because I was dramatic, but because it was real, raw, unfiltered. And it matched the testimony of 2 former Vera employees who had quietly reached out to me overnight after seeing my post. One was a paralegal named Rosa. She'd worked in Vera's legal department for 4 years. She'd seen the NDAs, the hush money, the accidental overdoses of elderly clients whose homes were seized. She told me once, Rosa wrote in her anonymous letter to the press, that the best acquisitions aren't bought. They're broken. The other was a security guard named Javier. He'd been hired to monitor Vera's private server vaults. He'd seen files labeled Whitmore E2023 POA Fraud Final, typed PDF. He recognized my name because he'd seen my face on the security feed the day Lila came in to finalize the sale. He said she looked like she was about to throw up. They made her sign the papers in front of Marcus, he said. He stood behind her. Didn't say a word, just watched, like he was checking if she'd crack. She didn't, she signed. Then she cried in the elevator. Alone. The media tore into it. Marcus Vera's PR team issued a statement. These are baseless allegations from disgruntled former employees and emotionally unstable individuals. Mr. Vera operates within the bounds of the law and regrets any misunderstanding. It was a lie, and everyone knew it because within hours, another bomb dropped. A whistleblower, later confirmed to be Lila, filed a sworn affidavit with the Department of Justice. In it, she admitted everything. She confessed that Marcus had orchestrated the entire scheme, that he'd targeted vulnerable families for years, that he'd trained his executives to identify emotional leverage points, sick parents, estranged siblings, financial desperation. He'd even created a playbook, called it The Quiet Takeover. Page 1, identify the target. Page 2, isolate them from support systems. Page 3, manipulate a family member into signing legal documents under false pretenses. Page 4, execute the transfer. Page 5, destroy any evidence of coercion. Page 6, repeat. And I was his masterpiece. Because I was the hardest to break, I didn't owe anyone money. I didn't have addiction issues. I didn't live paycheck to paycheck. I had pride, I had purpose, I had my mother's love. And that made me dangerous, because if someone like me could be taken, then no one was safe. By Tuesday afternoon, the FBI raided Vera Capital's headquarters. They seized servers, hard drives, personal phones, ledgers hidden in ceiling tiles. They found encrypted folders labeled Project Family Fracture. Inside, recordings, dozens of them. Audio of Marcus whispering to sisters, "If you don't do this, your brother will lose his kidney transplant eligibility." Video of him leaning over an elderly widow. "Your daughter's college fund? Gone, unless you sign." A voicemail from a man in Ohio. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I can't do it. My sister's cancer treatment. She needs that house." Marcus's reply, "Tell her she'll die faster without it." There were over 300 victims, over 80 deaths linked to stress, suicide, or withheld medication. And Lila? She wasn't just complicit, she was the architect. She'd identified 47 targets in the past year alone. She'd chosen me because I was the most resilient, because breaking me would send the strongest message. He told me, she sobbed in her deposition, that if I could make Emery give up her home, I'd be his heir. Heir, not employee, not manager. His heir to his empire of stolen lives. The fallout was catastrophic. Marcus Vera was arrested at his penthouse while eating breakfast. He didn't resist, didn't plead, just smiled. When asked why he did it, he said, "Because I could." The stock price of Vera Capital collapsed by 92%. 10 subsidiaries filed for bankruptcy, 27 lawsuits were filed within 48 hours. And then, the final twist. Got a call from Daniel, my lawyer, Emery. "There's something you need to see." He sent me a link, a live stream from inside the federal courtroom. Marcus Vera was being arraigned. He sat calmly, handcuffed, suit still pressed, hair perfectly combed, and beside him, Lila, in a gray suit, head bowed, waiting to be called as a cooperating witness. But then, something happened. A bailiff leaned in, whispered to the judge. The judge nodded, and suddenly, the doors to the courtroom opened. In walked my father, alone, pale, shaking, holding a small plastic bag. And in it, a pill bottle with my mother's name on it. He didn't look at Marcus, didn't look at Lila. He looked at me, through the camera, and whispered into the mic they handed him. I didn't know what he was doing. Until yesterday, he paused. Tears rolled down his cheeks. But I knew. I let him use my daughter. He turned to Lila. And in front of millions watching live, He slapped her hard across the face. The courtroom gasped. Security rushed forward, but he didn't stop. He screamed, voice cracking, "I didn't protect her! I didn't fight for her. I chose silence. I chose money. I chose your career over my own blood." He dropped the pill bottle. It clattered on the floor. Inside, one remaining tablet. My mother's heart medication, the one he'd been hoarding, the one he'd been lying about. "I stopped giving it to her 6 months ago," he said, voice breaking, "because Marcus promised me if I kept quiet, he'd keep your job. He'd fix your credit. He'd make sure you never had to work. Again." He looked at me. "I didn't know he was killing her." Slowly. "I didn't know he was killing you. I'm sorry." He collapsed. Paramedics rushed in. They carried him out. And somewhere in that courtroom, the entire world stopped breathing. That night, the headlines read, "Billionaire's empire crumbles. Father confesses to withholding mother's life-saving meds to protect daughter's job. Vera arrested. Sister turns state's evidence. Father breaks down in court. The house that broke a family." And sparked a national scandal. I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't speak to Lila. I didn't answer any interviews. I just walked back to my house. The deed had been restored. The courts ruled the transfer invalid due to fraud, coercion, and criminal conspiracy. The new locks were removed. The roses were replanted by volunteers who'd heard my story. Neighbors brought food. Strangers left notes on my porch. You didn't lose your home. You reclaimed your soul. I sat on the swing, the one I'd fixed myself, the one Mom loved, and I finally cried. Not from pain, from release, for the first time in years. I was free. 2 weeks later, I got another letter. No return address. Same thick envelope, same red ink. Inside, a single photograph of Marcus Vera in prison, smiling, holding a folded piece of paper. Written on it, in bold, jagged letters, "You won this round, Emery. But houses aren't the only things I steal. People are easier to break. And you're still mine." I stared at it for a long time. Then I lit a match, watched it burn, and whispered back, "No, Marcus, you never owned me. I was never yours to take. I was always mine. I buried the ashes in the dirt beneath my roses, and I planted something new. A tiny sapling. A cherry. Tree. Because I learned something standing in the wreckage of my life. You can take a house. You can steal a name. You can erase a legacy. But you can't take the courage it takes to stand up. And I stood, not for revenge, not for justice, but for me, for Mom, for every girl who was told to be quiet, for every sister who was forced to choose, for every child who believed love meant sacrifice. I am Emery Whitmore. I survived. And now, I'm not just rebuilding my home. I'm building a movement. Because if you think this ended with Marcus Vera, you haven't met the next one yet, and I'm ready for all of them.